Today I'm going to show you how to make your very own version of the viral crochet Miu Miu bag. This can be made with scrap yarn, it works up quickly and it looks so fun. I'm going to use a classic double crochet stitch for this bag because I think it looks awesome, and then I'll also show you how to sew your own lining, attach a zipper and put in some hardware to make it look just like the original. So let's get going. You'll need some yarn. I'm using an 8-ply or DK weight cotton, and I've got a bunch of scraps from a previous project. For this bag, you're going to work with 2 strands of cotton, either the same colour or different colours. The trick to making this bag sturdy is to use a much smaller crochet hook than you would think for this weight of yarn. I'm using a 3.5mm or an E4 hook. You'll also need a sewing needle, a pair of scissors, a zipper. I'm using a 20cm or an 8-inch zipper. I'm also going to use 2 12mm metal D-rings and an adjustable bag strap. I'll link some similar options down in the description below in case you're having trouble finding any of these parts. I'm also going to use some black cotton for the lining. The stiffer this fabric is, the more structure your bag will have. You could always add some iron-on interfacing to make it more sturdy. I've also got some leather I'm going to use on the top section of the bag. For this bag, when I change colour, I'm going to knot the new yarn together and leave the yarn ends on the inside of the bag. I'll be adding a lining so you won't even see them. Because I'm using double strands of yarn, if it's the same colour, I like to do a centre pull and then take the strand from the outside of the ball as well. When I'm mixing 2 colours together, I just pull from the centre of both. Start by making a slip knot on your hook with 2 strands of yarn, then chain 27 chains. You'll skip over the 2 stitches below the hook and work into the 3rd one down. These 2 skipped chains will count as your first double crochet for this row. Then you're going to make a double crochet, yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, pull through a loop. Then yarn over and pull through 2 loops on the hook, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops on the hook. Then you'll continue making double crochets into every stitch all the way along this row. You'll have a total of 25 double crochets. This includes the 2 chains you skipped at the start and that will now resemble a double crochet. When you get to the last double crochet, make this stitch and then trim off your yarn. Pull this through the loop on the hook and then tighten it to make a knot. For the next row, we're going to turn our work around and work back in the opposite direction. For the next row, you're going to do a standing double crochet to start. With the yarn attached with a slip knot, hold the yarn ends taut and yarn over the hook. Then insert the hook and pull through a loop. Yarn over and then pull through 2 loops on the hook. Then yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops on the hook. Then continue making double crochets into each stitch all the way along. I'll meet you at the end. At the end, you'll notice the 2 chains from the first row look a little bit different. Find the first double crochet after these 2 chains and work into the stitch to the top of these and slightly to the left. Then trim your yarn off and pull it through to make a knot. You should have 25 double crochets in that row. For the next row, flip your work over again and we'll work back this way. Have your 2 strands of yarn attached to your hook with a slip knot and make another standing double crochet into the first stitch. Then double crochet all the way along. For this row, you might want to change colours in the middle. To do this, just join on your new yarn with a knot, leave the tail ends, and these will be on the inside of the bag hidden by the lining. You could weave in the ends if you prefer to do that. Now I could end this new colour here, but I'll show you how to continue it for the next row if you want to. Turn your work around, and then chain 2 to act as the first double crochet. Then continue making double crochets into each stitch all the way along. At the end of the row, you might notice the top of your standing double crochet of the previous row looks a little bit different to a normal stitch. This strand here can become a little bit loose, so I prefer to make my final double crochet into this strand here as well. This keeps your edges really neat. Continue along making rows just like this, changing colours whenever you feel like, until you get to 6 rows. For me, this ended up measuring 8 centimetres or a little over 3 inches. Now we're going to work up the body of the bag, and I'll first show you where we're going to make these stitches to join on. We'll work into each stitch along the bottom and top of this panel, and we're going to do 2 double crochets per double crochet up the sides, with 2 double crochets in each of the corners. I'm going to start at the bottom corner and work my way up the first side. With your yarn on your hook with a slip knot, do a standing double crochet into the last stitch on the bottom row of the panel. Then make another double crochet into this same stitch. This is our first corner. Then work a double crochet into the bottom half of the first double crochet in this row. You can either work into the gap after the double crochet, or I'll show you another way in the next row up. Then you're going to work a double crochet into the section where this row joins the next row. Then work a double crochet into the bottom half of the next double crochet. This one I'm splitting the double crochet stitch. This is a neat way to do it. Then do a double crochet into the space where the next row joins on. Then do a double crochet into the bottom half of the next double crochet. Then do another double crochet into the stitch where this row joins the next one. I'm working over the yarn ends as I go, but you don't need to do this. Then do a double crochet into the bottom half of the next double crochet. Then work a double crochet into the space where it joins the next row. Then do a double crochet into the bottom half of this one. And then another one into the stitch where it joins the next row. Then do a double crochet into the bottom half of the next stitch. Then at the top of this stitch, do 2 double crochets to make a corner. Then you're going to turn and continue along the top length of this panel, doing a double crochet into every stitch. Then work down the other side in the exact same way. Here I'm at the bottom of the panel, and you'll notice that these stitches look a little bit different because this is where I started with the first row of chains. I suggest you look closely at each double crochet and make sure that you're working into the space directly above all of these stitches all the way along. When you get to the end, make sure you've got the right amount of stitches, join with a slip stitch, trim your yarn, and then pull this through to make a knot. For the rest of the bag, you'll work in rounds using the same technique of double crochet rows we did for the bottom panel. Also, I'll be switching between working from the outside and working from the inside every row. I'm doing this because I liked the added texture of having every second row be the reverse side of the double crochet stitches. If you prefer, you can just work from the outside facing you the whole time. The row I just did was worked from the outside of the bag, so for the next row I'm going to start with the inside facing me. I'm going to start the same way by making a standing double crochet, then work 1 double crochet into each stitch until I want to change colours. When changing colours, just knot your new yarn on and then put the tail ends so they're sitting on the inside of the bag. When you get to the end of the round, join with a slip stitch to the first standing double crochet just like we did on the bottom panel. then trim the yarn and pull it through to make a knot. You can see now how it's starting to form the shape of the bag. For the next row, turn your work so the outside of the bag is facing you for the next round. I like to start in a different position to where I started in the first round. Starting with a standing double crochet and work 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way around. For some rounds you might want to have only one colour, and for other rounds you might want to switch colours halfway through. You're going to continue working rounds in this exact same way, switching directions each round and keeping your yarn ends on the inside of the bag. Keep working until you reach 11 rounds for the body section. Count these from where you joined onto the base of the bag. So the base is 6 rows across and the side of the bag up is 11 rows. The base should measure 8 centimeters or just over 3 inches, and it should be 16 centimeters or about 6.5 inches across. Measuring up from where the base joins the body of the bag, it's 14 centimeters or 5.5 inches. These next measurements will help with the cutting of the lining of the bag. Flatten the bag down and measure down the middle, including the base section. For me, this measures 18 centimeters or 7 inches. This is the length measurement. Then measure the width at the top. For me, this is 26 centimeters or 10 inches. This is the width measurement. Now we're going to cut a rectangle from the fabric that's 2 times the length measurement plus 2 centimeters for a seam allowance for the zipper by the width measurement plus 2 centimeters of seam allowance. So I'm cutting mine to be 38 centimeters in length by 28 centimeters in width. Then fold this rectangle in half and sew down the sides using a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Once you've sewn these side seams, measure down from the top 15 centimeters. This is the height of the bag from the base up plus 1 centimeter seam allowance. Pin at this point and then open the seam out so you make a triangle with the fabric underneath the seam. Keep the seam nice and straight. If you flip it over, you'll see an even triangle shape. Then you're going to pin these 2 layers together at the same point we marked before, as we're going to be sewing across from here to here in a line. Add extra pins if need be, and you can see how this is going to help make the base of the bag shape of our lining. Also, if your measurements have been correct, you'll notice that sewing across this line will be 8 centimeters, which is the same measurement as the crochet base panel of our bag. Sew across this line and then repeat this on the other side of the lining as well. You'll see how when you turn this inside out, it creates a base shape for the bag. At this point, try it in your crochet bag to check the fit. It should be 1 centimeter taller than the bag, as we still have to put the zipper in. With the wrong side of the lining facing out, place the zipper inside the front piece with the right side of the zipper facing out. You'll sew this zipper along near these teeth here, so pin it so the lining has 1 centimeter allowance. Also, this zip is shorter than the bag width, so I'm making sure that they're the same distance left on either side of the zipper. Then take the other side of the zipper and pin this to the other side of the bag lining, so you should be looking at the front of a zipper pinned into the lining with the wrong side of the lining facing outwards. Then you're going to stitch down one side of the zipper, and then go down the other side as well. Once you've done this, your zipper should be nicely attached to your lining. You could top stitch this lining down if you want to. Then, with the wrong side of the lining still facing outwards, take this and put it into your crochet bag. Line up the bottom corners of the lining and your crochet bag and shimmy things around a bit till it fits nicely. Then pin the top edge of your crochet onto the zipper. You could machine stitch this on too, but I'm going to hand stitch it so it's a little bit neater. So here I've stitched it all down and the zipper's working perfectly. Because my zip was shorter than the bag, I have these little end pieces that aren't sewn up. You could stitch these across and just add a handle, but I'm going to add some leather pieces like on the original bag. I cut a shape out of some paper that fits my D-ring in the middle and I'm checking that it looks good. Then I use this template to cut out 2 leather pieces. Then I put my D-ring in the middle and hand stitch these down onto the top and side of the bag. Stitching through leather can be a little bit tough, so I used a thicker needle and cotton. Once this is stitched down, it looks really neat, and then I can just clip the strap on to the D-ring here. Then I'll just repeat this on the other side of the bag. And then your crochet bag is all finished. I'm so happy with how this turned out. I think it looks really amazing and really similar to the original. The colours are all really fun and the rows where the 2 yarns are mixed together looks great. I think the metal zipper and the strap hardware helps to make it look fancy, and the cute leather sections on either side are really nice too. You could adjust the pattern to make it different sizes if you want to. The lining's really nice and it's great how it hides all the yarn ends inside so you don't have to weave them in. I hope you had lots of fun making this bag. If you enjoyed the video, give me a subscribe so we can stay in touch.